Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 10 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, we featured a really powerful team with max Speed Gothitelle as well as Zacian. I didn't get to use Quiver Dance Volcarona very much yesterday, so I'm hoping it can have a little bit more relevance today. And this first matchup might actually be it. We're up against Zacian, Suicune, Raichu, Salamence, Rillaboom, and Incineroar. Salamence is the real intriguing Pokemon to me here. I actually ran into a Salamence on the ladder, like, recently, and it had Choice Scarf, and it just, like, Choice Scarf Hurricane my Scarf Urshifu for a one-hit KO. So, that was pretty concerning. Salamence also gets access to Rock Tomb and Flying-type attacks, like Dual Wing Beat, so, like, Volcarona is really good here, but we ideally eliminate Salamence first. So, I'm hoping to bait the Salamence out and have my opponent lead it and go with Gothitelle Zacian, I think, with Volk in the back, and then, for the last one... they have Suicune, which really makes me want to bring Rillaboom here. If I'm my opponent, what am I going with? Go like Incin, Salamence, Suicune, Zacian. Because my Zacian's so bulky, I just don't know if I actually need Tailwind on Tornadus is the thing. Okay, I'm gonna go with Urshifu. So here's the thing, if my opponent goes with Suicune, we have Taunt. Taunt denies them Tailwind on Suicune, and I also have Hypnosis. Then, if we trap Suicune in with Gothitelle, we can bring Volcarona out and just Quiver Dance in front of it. So, we'll see how things play out. I mean, I think Volcarona can be really good here. It's just the Salamence, it's kind of a wild card that I have to be careful about. So, thank you so much as always for watching Road to Ranked. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, with Series 10 coming to an end soon, I want to know what is the most surprising restricted set you've run into. Let me know in the comment section below. They're just going to go with Zacian and Salamence. I'm generally okay with this. Okay. Man, how bulky is your Salamence is my question, because I could just fake out Zacian, play rough Salamence turn 1, and if we eliminate Salamence, that just completely opens the game up for Volcarona. The thing is, I could also just helping hand play rough to guarantee the KO into Salamence here. That honestly might be worth it. Just means I might take a Behemoth Blade on Zacian. So it's like, am I willing to take a Behemoth Blade and then have them switch into Rillaboom? And there is also the chance Salamence protects on us turn 1. Just, is Salamence really bulky enough to take a neutral play rough? I'm just gonna go for Fake Out, but I honestly suspect Salamence might be bulky enough, but I don't want to go all in and have the Salamence protect in front of me. That would backfire dramatically. Okay. Nice. Okay, thank goodness. That's just a KO. That is so good. That is exactly what I was looking for with this lead. They're not Rocky Helmet either, which is interesting. So that is basically the best possible turn 1 we could have gotten, given the lead scenario. The only thing that would have been better is if they led like Incineroar instead, because then... Oh, actually, then they would have double Intimidate, I suppose. Anyway, now I'm down to go for the Taunt onto Suicune. And then I'm actually okay switching on into Urshifu right now. Mainly because Volcarona and Zacian are both super, super good for this late game for us. So Taunt is so nice to have on Suicune right now because it denies them Tailwind. And with Tailwind denied, both my Suicune and Zacian will outspeed their Zacian. So I absolutely love this Gothitelle set. And as I mentioned, like, one of the reasons I wanted to feature this team is because, one, it's just incredibly strong and, like, has been the most consistent team I've used after trying a bunch of different teams over the weekend. And it also has Gothitelle, which is one of my all-time favorite Pokemon. And I think this set is a little bit unique, right? Normally when people see Gothitelle, they expect, like, Trick Room, Ally Switch, Psychic, Psyshock, Foul Play, Protect, but we don't have any of those attacks. Oh, okay, are they going for the knockout onto my Zacian? Because I'm okay with that. If they're targeting Gothitelle, things get interesting, though. Wow, nice play. I mainly wasn't expecting Helping Hand there, so I didn't think Gothitelle would fake. Oh, actually, Behemoth Blade in itself might just KO as well, so maybe that's not super surprising. Okay, that makes this next turn interesting. Because I didn't get the taunt off, meaning now my opponent's Suicune can actually Tailwind. So the thing is, I could bring in Zacian and then just close combat and play rough into Suicune. I could bring out Volcarona and then Quiver Dance, Surging Strikes. I honestly lean towards Volk a little bit more here. That was a great play by them this last turn. And it made sense because the switch out for me was natural, right? Yeah, the thing is, we have eliminated the biggest threat. So I am going to Quiver Dance here, I think, and go for the Surging Strikes onto the Zacian. The problem is that, like, they can just Tailwind here, right? The question I have is whether or not Zacian protects this turn. Because if you're my opponent, you also have to worry about, if you haven't seen this team, Rage Powder Volcarona this turn. That was a great play by them, though, because the idea was to just taunt Suicune. If they had targeted the Zacian slot, I would have brought an Urshifu to survive. Then I can Helping Hand Surging Strikes the Zacian the next turn just to get a lot of damage off, and then Suicune can't Tailwind. The main thing is now I don't get the taunt off into Suicune, unfortunately. So I suppose I could have stayed in with Zacian there, but that Helping Hand easily... Okay, they don't protect Zacian. Interesting. What are you going for? I don't mind, actually, them not protecting also makes sense, because, okay, they just Sacred Sword. Okay, that's not too bad. It just means I missed out on an opportunity to potentially Flamethrower the Zacian there, but that's okay. I assume they're Tailwinding here. Yeah. If they had Scalded or gone for, like, Roar there, they would have been in a lot more trouble. Okay, so now you can just Snarl. Zacian can go for the knockout onto Urshifu. What do I think my opponent's last Pokemon is going to be? Incineroar feels like the most likely option. So I actually want to switch my Urshifu out, go for the knockout onto Zacian. Because Zacian's actually, on my end, isn't as important right now in this matchup. Because let's say their last one is Incin, I get the knockout onto Zacian, and I can protect Volk, even sacrifice my Zacian to get the free switch and back into Scarf Urshifu. And then, like, Volcarona can win the endgame versus Suicune because we have leftovers and Quiver Dance, right? Now, the thing is that Suicune can Snarl infinitely, but the thing is I can just keep Quiver Dancing to get special defense boosts, meaning you do no damage. And I also have Giga Drain. But I have to say, for what felt like should have been a guaranteed win after... Not a guaranteed win, but we went up so quickly in turn 1. Oh, I don't love that. But they just go for Snarl, okay. Could be worse, I guess. We'll get the knockout onto Zacian now, and then I can double protect this next turn. The only issue with getting crit there is that it means that Suicune with Scald can KO us now, whereas if they didn't crit, I think we'd survive a Scald. So, it's a little bit unfortunate, but it's part of the game. But what I can do to stall out their Tailwind is, like, double protect, and depending on what their last one is, like, let's say it's Rillaboom, then I would probably switch the Zacian out into the Urshifu. But if it's Incin, which is what I thought it was, yep, that is, then I think I have more incentive to just double protect here right now. And then we'll play the Volcarona versus Suicune endgame, which is what I was talking about earlier. 2 turns of Tailwind left? Yep. So here I'm just gonna double protect. Mainly because I want to make sure that I just get Scarf Urshifu in after Tailwind is over and just obliterate the Incineroar with the Surging Strikes. My only fear is if Vincent actually survives the Surging Strikes, because right now what my opponent's Incineroar is going to angle for is a Flare Blitz into Volcarona to pick up the knockout onto that. So it's going to be a close finish for sure. Either way, this was a really fun game. Yeah, I'm just sad. I feel like I had so much control after turn 1, but turn 2, you know, like, that's the downside with Gothitelle. After I was intimidated, it would have been tough to stay in with Zacian there. Even a Helping Hand Behemoth Blade wouldn't have done much for us there. So they Scald into Zacian. Okay, and they Blitz into Volk. And that makes sense. You know, the thing, though, is that, like, if I had just Quiver Dance last turn or Giga Drained... Oh, man, how fast is the Incineroar? Like, does it actually outspeed my Volk right now? Volk hits 225 right now. So Incin would need to be 113 speed to outspeed me. I actually wanted to outspeed me because Flare Blitz shouldn't KO us. But I am going to Giga Drain here because if Suicune can Scald Volk, right? So Giga Drain would heal that damage back up. And I'm going to CC the Incin here. This is where that crit from Sacred Sword earlier really hurts. Oh, they do go for Snarl though. Okay. I don't mind that too much. It's interesting that they deviated from their play last turn though, because it's like the same situation. And we do outspeed their Incineroar. Okay. That's pretty good damage from Giga Drain, all things considered. So now I'm back at full HP. Does my Zacian also outspeed? Oh, their Incin just doesn't have any speed investment. Okay, that's huge. And oh, we actually get a return crit on them. Oh wait, that wasn't even a crit. I forgot that we had reset our attack drop. Wait, were we at neutral? No, we were at +1. Yeah. Wait, were we? we had to have been, right? There's no way we weren't. But now the game's obviously just instantly over. No, we were at neutral. Neutral close combat KOs there? I guess they have no defense investment, but they also didn't have speed investment. So it's like max HP, max special defense, maybe. Okay. Well, now we can just Quiver Dance up with Volk. Yeah, I want to switch out Zacian there to reset the drop, and then the thing is with Urshifu out now, I can actually Rock Tomb the Suicune as well. Yeah, I was not expecting to one-shot the Incin there, but the thing is, even if Incin Flare Blitz there, you're not KOing the Volcarona unless you crit, right? Okay, they're going for Scald. Oh, they actually targeted Zacian. Yeah, like, I'm really surprised they went for Snarl there, because, like, they missed out on the opportunity to just knock out my Zacian there, but I'll gladly take it. And now, yeah, Volk is just set up for this end game, which is perfect. We're at neutral. I'm down to just Giga Drain here. And I think here I don't mind Rock Tombing because it just basically invalidates their Tailwind, meaning Zacian wins the end game. Yeah, perfect. Okay, the Snarl turn was kind of surprising there because I feel like, I guess, yeah, they, because you should know whether or not your Incin outspeeds me in that position. So if I had to guess, my opponent was reading into me switching out the Zacian that turn to conserve it, and they're like, I'm just going to Snarl Flare Blitz your Volcarona because I'm going to read hard into the switch. But the reality is that I didn't have that much incentive to switch because I felt confident in Volcarona beating the Suicune in the endgame because we had Giga Drain. So I was like, okay, well, even if you go for the same play, which is Scald Zacian, KO, Flare Blitz Volcarona, I will get the free switch into Urshifu. Urshifu will Surging Strikes to KO Incineroar the next turn, and then Volcarona can just Giga Drain to heal back all the damage that you did with Flare Blitz previously. Even if you Tailwind there with Suicune, it's fine, right? Because, like, Suicune can't knock out Volcarona that easily, and I can heal back all the damage it does, and I can also like cycle in Quiver Dance and Protect, and with leftovers the recovery adds up really quickly. So yeah, the main thing in this game though was knocking out the Salamence early on, because Salamence is just a huge nuisance for my Volcarona because it completely walls it. And as soon as Salamence went down, my opponent's remaining Pokemon were Suicune, Zacian, and Incin. Incin's obviously the worst of the three to go up against, but it actually does really well into Zacian and Suicune, which is why I brought it out immediately. So yeah, that was a really fun game though, and would have been interesting to see how it would have played out if they went for what I was expecting, which was just Scald into Zacian. And I'm still surprised Close Combat just one-shot the Incineroar there at full HP, but I'm guessing it just doesn't have any defense investment, and maybe it's just like, you know, careful, like max HP, max special defense, for example. So yeah, fun first game, and let's just keep it going. All right, next game of the day, and it's Yveltal. I just pinged my hand on my keyboard by accident. So sorry for the slight random noise if it surprised you there. I mean, Zacian obviously is super good into Yveltal, right? My opponent certainly will recognize that. I actually think they're going to go with the Stakataka route. So the leads I want to respect the most are Incin Stack and Amoonguss Stakataka. And the reason why I think they'd want to go that is so you can Trick Room and then just Gyro Ball Zacian. So I actually really like Gothitelle plus Urshifu here. I think Goth also, like, with Hypnosis, gives us kind of like a get out of jail card, get out of jail for free card. Where like, so the idea behind this lead is if they lead Amoonguss plus Stakataka, I can just okay, actually let me figure out what else I want to bring first. I might honestly bring Rillaboom because it would give me a free switch in into Amoonguss and completely make it useless. Although I suppose if I go up against Amoonguss, I can also taunt it. I don't think Volk is it in this one. I don't love Tornadus either, so I'm gonna go Rillaboom. The issue here, and what's really interesting about Yveltal is it's actually amazing against everything that's not named Zacian on this team. I guess if you're my opponent, you also could just go with, like, Suicune Yveltal. No, that would be kind of a weird lead. Amoonguss Yveltal. That would make sense to me. Or Incineroar Yveltal. That's Landorus and Yveltal. Huh. I wonder if there's Scarf Lando then. I mean, this actually is not bad for us at all. I can literally just fake out Yveltal, Surging Strikes, Landorus, and you're trapped in right now. So I actually think this is fantastic. The other, like, I could go for, I could have gone for Fake Out and Surging Strikes into Yveltal, but I don't want my Urshifu taking an Earth Power. Like, maybe Urshifu has a chance of surviving. And even if it does, Yveltal can just Sucker Punch next turn, right? Like, this is the thing. Yveltal's so good against everything else I have. So I led this way because I wanted to cover for Stakataka, because I had a game where I went up against Yveltal with this team, and they just set up Trick Room, and they had Life Orb Stakataka, and it just demolished me because I had no switch-ins into it. And I didn't lead in a way that would at least, like, deny them Trick Room or, like, put on pressure. I think I just didn't lead Gothitelle when I went up against it. So, once again, this is the beauty of the Gothitelle lead, where my opponent just has, like, something that gets one-shot immediately, right? So this is the strength of Gothitelle. If you can trap your opponent in on turn 1, especially given, like, Urshifu, right? Urshifu didn't exist in previous years with Gothitelle, but in Sword and Shield, with the introduction of it, the fact is, if you just lead these two with fast Fake Out, like, you can't protect in front of Urshifu, and that's what makes it so much harder, right? Because it's like, you can just Fake Out one Pokemon, Surging Strikes to KO the other. So that's as good of a turn 1 as you could have asked for. Now, the interesting thing here is if you're my opponent, what do you bring in? Amoonguss, if you brought it, would be a pretty scary Pokemon for us to go into. So if Amoonguss comes out, what we want to consider is maybe switching. I think that's Amoonguss. So the thing is that we have safety goggles on Gothitelle. Like, you can Oblivion Wing Urshifu and Spore Gothitelle. Or you could Dark Pulse this. This is a really tricky spot. I personally want to go for Taunt onto Amoonguss and Surging Strikes onto Yveltal. I don't like switching out into either Pokemon here. Okay, they don't go for Rage Powder, so that makes sense. It's probably going to be a Spore. A Spore Oblivion Wing here is my dream. Like, you Oblivion Wing into the Urshifu slot. Or slow Yveltal would also be nice to see, and I just outspeed the Yveltal. Snarls is also totally okay. I actually think that should win us the game now, if Amoonguss is not Mentorb. Okay, let's see. Are you Mentorb? Mentorb is so rare on Amoonguss. It's almost always Sash Koba, maybe Akka. Let's go. Nice. Yeah, that should just win us the game, because now I can just Helping Hand Surging Strikes. This is why this Gothitelle is so good, right? It traps the Landorus in on turn 1. On turn 2, it gets Taunt off into Amoonguss, and the Amoonguss is taunted now. So what are you going to do? Sorry, I meant to say the Amoonguss is trapped in now as well as being taunted. So it's like, you just can't do anything other than maybe go for like a Giga Drain / Sludge Bomb. But the thing is, this is a second turn of taunt. So the next turn, Amoonguss still can't Spore, meaning that I can just go for a Helping Hand Surging Strikes into whatever comes in. So yeah, I was mainly afraid about getting hit by like a Dark Pulse on Gothitelle there and getting one-shot by them. And I actually tried to Pollen Puff the Yveltal. Yeah. It makes sense though, because if I don't have Helping Hand there, that first Surging Strikes did just around 50%. Let's say I get a lower damage roll the second time around and you survive, then you can win. And their last one's Instant. Perfect. So with my opponent's team here, the damage primarily came from Landorus and Yveltal. Now, Instant's actually really good against the Zacian, right? Interestingly enough, what was I so worried about? Stakataka? They did not go that route at all, but I can see why they might have been a little bit afraid to feel confident with that. Okay, so Instant probably clicks Fake Out here into Urshifu, to which I'm fine with. The Amoonguss is completely useless right now, so we can actually just Hypnosis and Surging Strikes. There's no reason to switch out right now. Yeah, I mean... yeah, in a game like that, you just don't want to throw the game away, because I actually think there's slight comeback potential if I make a careless switch there. For example, if I carelessly switch into Zacian, and they Flare Blitz crit it and then Pollen Puff, that could actually be really bad for us. So, the reason you want to stay in with both Pokemon there is because the Amoonguss Pollen Puff damage-wise won't do very much. Instant is forced to click Fake Out there onto Urshifu. If you don't Fake Out, well then Surging Strikes will probably just KO you, unless you're really bulky. And then even if you go for that, well, Gothitelle can go for Hypnosis, and if the Hypnosis hits as you go for a Fake Out, the game's just over. So, like, we had to still play that turn correctly. Yes, we were up 4-2, but Instant and Amoonguss generally are valuable. Like, and like, even though they don't deal that much damage, Amoonguss can still spore a lot of things. And I had Zacian and Rillaboom in the back, both which aren't super good into the Incineroar. So, I mean, we had such a big lead in that game where it probably didn't matter, but you always want to just consider like how you can throw the game, and always ask yourself if you need to make a necessary switch. And the reality there is like they didn't have any pressure damage-wise into Urshifu, right? So it's like, all right, even if you Fake Out into Urshifu there and Amoonguss Pollen Puffs Gothitelle, well then you give me a free switch in into a Rillaboom, right? And then I can just Fake Out the Amoonguss Surging Strikes Instant, and then probably win from there. So yeah, you just want to carelessly switch in Zacian or Rillaboom. Rillaboom you could actually maybe make an argument to switch into, but Zacian you certainly don't. So yeah, either way, let's just keep it going. Alright, third one of the day, and it's up against rank 68. That is very cool. They're quite high up there. So, it's a Xerneas team. These matchups are so interesting. Because Zacian itself is obviously so good into Xerneas, but everything else we have, like, it's still a pretty scary setup, and Xerneas Geomanced up is still very scary. Now, I feel like the last two games I've had huge advantages off having an amazing lead. So, team preview is so important with this team, because you often can just, like, blow the game wide open with a really strong lead matchup, right, with Gothitelle trapping something in. So, now I'm asking myself, okay, what are the scariest leads for my opponent? They have Volcarona and Landorus. Both of those are really good into... it's like, it's Indeedee plus Xerneas I'm nervous about, because what I want to go with is Gothitelle or Urshifu. Same idea, trap something in, and then Gothitelle can go for Hypnosis. It's just that Hypnosis is really variable. Like, I want to go Goth Urshifu, Tornadus, Zacian. It feels so weird to not bring Rillaboom or Volcarona into this matchup, though. But the logic here is that with Tornadus, even if they Geomancy up with Xerneas, Zacian can still outspeed and just KO with Behemoth Blade. Yeah. I've also run into Xerneas teams while using this team where they just straight up don't even bother bringing Xerneas. And that's Volk plus Mienshao. I really think there's a possibility they did not bring Xerneas in this one. But this is still what I was going for, right? Like, now I've trapped my opponent in on turn 1. We can trade Fake Outs. I'm willing to just Fake Out into Volcarona and go for Surging Strikes. Now, the scary thing about clicking Surging Strikes here is that we might get burnt by Flame Body. But it's a risk we have to take. I think most likely we'll probably trade Fake Outs on turn 1. But if that's the case, then turn 2. Let's see, Fake Out, yep, into Urshifu. And we'll just Fake Out into Goth. Or sorry, into Volk. It's Gothitelle that gets hit by Flame Body here. That's okay. I just think like Volk is pretty scary offensively, and it's one of the biggest threats to Zacian, so... the question is whether or not I should Helping Hand here, because then it only probably take 2 hits to KO rather than 3. But the thing is, if Hypnosis puts Mienshao to sleep right now, they're in an awful position. If Surging Strikes just KOs Volk here, so yeah, I'll just go for Strike. I could have gone for Rock Tomb as well, but I didn't know about that. I don't love being locked into that. Oh, this is a 2-hit KO anyway. Okay, perfect. Helping Hand would have just turned it into a 1-hit KO then, but yeah, Gothitelle is just so good. Okay. It's gonna be Knockoff, which I'm fine with. That one-shots? Oh, that is a bummer. There's no way that one-shots otherwise. And it's like, you know, we went for Hypnosis there, which isn't the most consistent attack, but there was no value in going for a taunt or a Fake Out, obviously, and I didn't, like, Helping Hand is marginally better because it turns Surging Strikes into 1 hit rather than 2. But the thing is, if Hypnosis connects there, because Gothitelle was slower than Mienshao, you're just stuck in with the Mienshao, like, cannot switch out. You have to bring something in, and I can just Hoping Surging Strikes whatever comes in. So, it's a bummer, but it is what it is. But this means I get a free switch into Zacian right now, which is honestly not terrible because we just eliminated Volcarona. I actually think they did not bring Xerneas here. That's my guess. This is also the bummer of Gothitelle going down, right? Because, like, let's say we Hypnosis, we get it onto Mienshao, then I can just taunt the Amoonguss and win the game from there. I think here I'm just going to go for Behemoth Blade and Surging Strikes onto Amoonguss. I don't even know if that's enough for a KO, to be honest, which is really nerve-wracking. Maybe I should have just brought Tornadus out first, but yeah, I'm honestly willing to bet they didn't bring Xerneas here. It's Rocky Helmet too. I mean, that's to be expected, which is fine if Behemoth Blade KOs Amoonguss here, but I don't think it will. That's my issue right now. They played this game nicely, and like, yeah, that previous turn, like, we got burnt into a crit, so I don't know if the burn matters because crit might just pick up the knockout anyway. Ah, so close. The play there could have been to protect Zacian, because I think they might have close combat and sport into that slot. Yeah, I could have protected Zacian, switched into Tornadus, then taunted Amoonguss. Still winnable, though. Very much comes down to what their last Pokemon is. I'm going to Surging Strikes Mienshao here and force them to Rage Powder. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I wasn't sure if we could knock out Amoonguss there, but I was leaning towards no, so if I think it's not going to KO... Oh, they don't switch Amoonguss out, though. That's interesting, because it means I burn a turn of sleep with the Zacian, and you also don't get Regenerator Recovery right now. I'm just so curious what their last one is. It might still be Xerneas, right? Because then now you can Geomancy in front of us. Okay, yeah, they Spore into Urshifu. But they were going to go Spore and Close Combat there. We win the game on a one-turn wake with the... It is Xerneas, okay. Yeah, nicely done. The decision to bring Amoonguss first over the Xerneas was very smart. And it's frustrating because if I actually just brought Tornadus out there, it was a free taunt into a Zacian switch in. I could Surging Strikes there as well, but then Amoonguss would probably Rage Powder. The thing is, we still win here if we get a one-turn wake. Because, like, I can just Blade into... Actually, we'd want to target Xerneas here just to punish them for not Rage Powdering. And then switch Urshifu out into Torn. Yeah, I don't really mind how this... Like, because I think the crit there was such a big deal. Because the thing is, if you don't crit there... You have to bring in either Amoonguss or Xerneas the subsequent turn. Okay, so let's see if we wake up. Because if Zacian wakes up and they Geomancy here, we still win. But they stay asleep. Okay, that'll probably be GG then. That's a shame. But yeah, I mean, the knockoff crit, I assume it mattered. I'll do the damage calc after this game because I'm really curious. Maybe it didn't, since Gothitelle does have a little bit less bulk than usual. I'm just trying to... Is there any way we can win right now? If Tornadus can survive a +2 Dazzling Gleam, then there's still a shot here. The win con is to protect Zacian. Hope we get the Wake Up. Hope that they just go for Rage Powder and then Dazzling Gleam. Tornadus survives Gleam, and then Hurricane knocks out Amoonguss. And then we just Tailwind the next turn. So, yeah, I think that's our win con right now. It's pretty slim, and I don't even think we survive a Gleam, but if they're like really bulky Xerneas with not like max special attack, we stay asleep for 3 turns though. Okay, then there's no chance. But, you know, the thing is, even though it didn't work out here, you always want to identify your potential win conditions, right? Did they Moonblast into Torn? Oh, wow, they didn't even... See, so like if we actually had a 1 or a 2 turn wake in this game, we would have won. Now, like... The decision to go all in there is interesting by targeting the Zacian, so it's a little bit heartbreaking, but in the end, like, there was a lot that could have gone right for us in this game, right? If that crit doesn't happen immediately, it's pretty good, and then here, if I get a 1 or a 2 turn wake with Zacian, we should win the game as well. So we put ourselves in a position to win, but ultimately my opponent cycled and played really nicely with the Xerneas, especially for how good the lead matchup looked for us. Is there any way to win at this point? I mean, the first question is whether or not, like, I need to just go for Hurricane here and hope for confusion, I think. They did have Dazzling Gleam, so let's see if Tornadus would have survived. It would have. So, yeah. The key thing here is identifying a play that would have kept us in the game, right? And the odds of that actually weren't terrible then. We would have needed a 3-turn wake. Sorry, not a 3-turn, a 2-turn wake. Or a 1 or 2-turn sleep, not wake. Yeah, no, we missed Hurricane, but it's fine. Like, the win con at this point was pretty slim anyway, right? Okay. So let's review. Let's think about what went wrong. It's mainly I want to do that knockoff damage Krauk because my assumption was that Gothitelle was never getting KO'd there, and I think my play was correct there. Because let's say they don't crit and we hit the Hypnosis there, I don't really see how my opponent can win the game at that point. If you bring in Xerneas, well, I can just go for Helping Hand Surging Strikes, or Hypnosis Surging Strikes onto the Xern slot. And if you bring out Amoonguss, well, I've got Safety Goggles on the Xerneas, so I can taunt the Amoonguss and then switch the Urshifu out into Zacian. And once I've taunted the Amoonguss, then I can just knock out the Mienshao. Actually, it still wouldn't be a guaranteed win, I think, because like Amoonguss is still a pretty tricky Pokemon, and assuming that they have Focus Sash on Mienshao is also still pretty hard. But yeah, I want to pull up the damage calc and look at Gothitelle versus Mienshao in that position. Now, we did take 1 turn of burn as well, so we weren't at full HP, and this Mienshao isn't the bulkiest, so yeah, let's do the calc. Okay, so I have the damage calc pulled up right now. So Jolly Knockoff, which is typically the case. You don't really want to run Admin Mienshao most of the time because it drops you to a kind of an awkward speed tier. Mienshao's main strength is outspeeding everything in like the 95 to 101 kind of speed tier, right? So Jolly Knockoff against Gothitelle without a crit does 61 to 73%, meaning that we could have actually survived the regular knockoff and 2 ticks of burn. Now, when that knockoff gets a critical hit, it turns into 92 to 109%. So it's a 50% chance to one-shot, but of course, Gothitelle had already taken some damage from burn as well, so that 50% is actually a lot higher when you factor in the burn from the flame body. So yeah, as you can see, it basically is not KOing if you don't get the crit there, given the Gothitelle spread. And even if you turn that into Admit, it does 67 to 80% maximum. So even with the maximum roll with Admit max attack Mienshao, you can still take that and 2 hits of burn, basically. So yeah. It's always good to just confirm these things and confirm these damage calcs, because let's say knockoff was actually a guaranteed KO onto Gothitelle. I have to think very heavily about how I play turn 2 of that game, right? The reality is, that turn, I also could have actually switched out Gothitelle immediately out into Zacian. It was just that I was willing to take the gamble there, because I think if we hit the Hypnosis there, it is really, really tough for my opponent to win from that position. Because if you bring out, if I hit the Hypnosis and I survive the turn, if you bring out Amoonguss, well, I can just taunt the Amoonguss and switch out into Zacian. If you bring out Xerneas, I'm just going to probably go for Helping Hand Surging Strikes into Xerneas. Or actually, I could either Helping Hand Surging Strikes or switch out into Zacian immediately. That being said, I guess I think they could still have a win con if they crit Moonblast and +2 Moonblast KO Zacian. But yeah. That being said, like the turn that I got crit by the knockoff, I could have switched out into Zacian. That might have been a pretty good play. The other thing my opponent did really well in this game was not bringing Xerneas out as soon as the Volcarona went down. Because if they had brought Xerneas out and I had Zacian out, I don't see how they can really win the game from that point. But by bringing Amoonguss out, they pressured me with Spore, right? And the turn that my Zacian got hit by Spore, I could have just protected it and then switched out into Tornadus. Now, the reason I didn't love making that play is because if I protect Zacian, I switch into Torn, and they just Spore the Tornadus on the switch in, it feels pretty doomed. So, yeah. Ultimately, this was one of those games where, like, both the crit and 3 turns of sleep and the Flame Body, like, all of those added up. And I don't think I played perfectly. The other thing I always have to ask myself in matchups like this is, like, did I bring the best Pokemon? And they actually did not bring their Landorus, so I actually had room to bring out my Volcarona, and I ultimately didn't. Volk would have been a very nice bring, actually, in the back, right, over... Ultimately, in the end... No, actually, no, Tornadus was still good, though, right, because it put myself in a position where if we wake up either in 2 turns or 1 turn with the Zacian, we would just outspeed and one-shot the Xerneas, so... I don't know. Like, I think Torn was actually still an okay bring, because the thing is with Volcarona, yeah, I can Quiver Dance, but then they're going to Geomancy before I Quiver Dance, and then once they have the special defense boost, like, they're at +2, whereas I'm only at +1. and Moonblast still hurts even after I get a Quiver Dance up. So there is definitely room to bring both Rillaboom and the Volcarona here. And Rillaboom would have been nice because it actually would have granted me a switch in into Spore. So if I had Rillaboom over Tornadus, what I could have done was protected the Zacian, switch Urshifu out into Rillaboom, and then fake out the subsequent turn. It also would, you know, ignore priority, or I can just Grassy Glide, ignore Rage Powder from Amoonguss. But the reason I didn't love bringing Rillaboom was because my opponent had a Volcarona to begin with. They also had Landorus and Indeedee in Team Preview, I think, right? So, like, all of those add up to me feeling a little bit, like, not super comfortable bringing out Rillaboom. So, yeah, that was definitely a really close one. It definitely stings a little bit to lose, but it's one in which, like, you know, even if you get unlucky, you should always look at what you could have done better, whether it be playing better. And like I said, like, I could have switched Gothitelle out the turn that I got hit by knockoff. I could have switched out Tornadus first rather than switching in the Zacian immediately. I could have protected Zacian and switched out into Tornadus. But I don't think any of the plays I made in this one were like plays where I'm like, oh, that was like objectively a really bad play, so at least that's okay. There was just opportunities to make maybe slightly better plays, but I do think there is higher risk in some of the plays I mentioned. For example, if I bring out Tornadus and they bring out Xerneas, they can just Dazzling Gleam. Although, if they just Dazzling Gleam, and then I would just, they could Dazzling Gleam and knock off the Tornadus, I guess. And then if that's a KO, then I probably lose the game. So, yeah. I don't know about bringing Tornadus out first over Zacian, but protecting the Zacian switching out into Torn would have been an interesting play. The turn I got hit by Spore in close combat. The issue there is if I protect and they Spore Tornadus on the switch in, I think it's kind of doomed. Whereas, like, there I was like, even in the worst case, at least I get Surging Strikes off. So, yeah. Anyway, I've been rambling on long enough for this match, but I always like breaking down, you know, games, especially after losing, to see like where I could have gone better and learn a couple damage calcs along the way. So that's gonna be it for this episode. Thank you so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please show your support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. Don't forget to answer the question of the day. Check out the team. Thanks to Paris VGC once again. Details in the description below, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.